Welcome to the AI for Career Success video overview by Curt Robbins. We're experts at AI coaching and helping professionals like you and your employees upskill in AI. The analysis we're presenting today is drawn from an insightful article in TechCrunch. It was published on March 21st, 2024, written by Rebecca Schutak, and it asks a very compelling question: why Wall Street wasn't won over by Nvidia's big conference. So, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll examine what we're calling the Nvidia GTC paradox. Then, we'll explore the deep uncertainty that seems to be driving Wall Street's reaction. From there, we'll look at the hard data, the reality of Nvidia's market dominance. And finally, we'll tie it all together by looking at the idea of an entire economy beginning to orbit around Nvidia. Okay, let's dive into that central conflict. At its GTC keynote, Nvidia laid out this incredible vision of success, innovation, and future growth. And yet, the stock market reacted negatively. It's a genuine paradox, and it's one we really need to understand. Think about this. For 2.5 hours, CEO Jensen Huang was on stage announcing game-changing new chips, talking about a potential $35 trillion market for AI agents, and even forecasting $1 trillion in future orders. I mean, by any measure, this was an incredibly strong, bullish presentation. But as he was speaking, the company's stock actually started to dip, which points to a very real nervousness among investors. So, what's going on here? What could possibly explain that disconnect? Well, that brings us to our second point, this idea of a great uncertainty that's casting a shadow over Wall Street's view of the entire AI sector. Daniel Newman, the CEO of Futurum, puts it perfectly. He says, "The markets hate uncertainty." But here's the twist. The sheer speed of AI innovation has created a new kind of uncertainty, one that nobody really saw coming. Things are moving so fast that it's difficult to predict the ultimate impact on business. And for investors, that kind of unknown is a significant risk. And this uncertainty shows up in a few specific ways. There's this persistent fear of a potential AI bubble. On top of that, some reports have suggested that enterprise adoption of AI is still quite low. It is important to note, though, that this data might be 6 months old, which in the AI world is practically an eternity. And lastly, for a lot of businesses, the actual return on investment for these massive AI projects just isn't clearly defined yet. All right, so let's set aside the market sentiment for a moment and pivot to the objective data. Because when you look at the numbers, Nvidia's performance tells a completely different story. It's a story of clear, undeniable, and accelerating dominance. 73%. That was Nvidia's year-over-year revenue growth just last quarter. What this number tells us is that despite any anxieties about the future, companies are buying Nvidia's hardware at a truly incredible pace right now. 1 million. That is the number of GPUs that Amazon, just one company, plans to purchase for its AWS cloud platform by 2027. This isn't just a forecast, it is a massive, concrete investment in the infrastructure that will power the future of AI. And finally, $1 trillion. That's the value of purchase orders that CEO Jensen Huang expects to see for the new Blackwell and Rubin platforms by the end of 2027. This signals an incredibly powerful long-term demand from the biggest tech consumers in the world. So this brings us to our final section, where we really need to synthesize the market's fears with the company's actual performance. What all the evidence points to is that Nvidia is evolving into something much more than a chip maker. It's becoming the foundational platform for the next economic revolution. This quote from Kevin Cook at Zacks Investment Research really captures the dynamic perfectly. He says the economy is sort of orbiting around Nvidia. Why? Because Nvidia is building the necessary infrastructure that countless other industries will depend on to innovate. In fact, Huang himself calls Nvidia a platform company. What does that mean? It means they provide the core technology, the entire ecosystem, that enables other industries to then build their own multi-trillion-dollar innovations. So you see, Nvidia isn't just another company in the economy, it's building the very platform on which the future economy will run. Which leaves us with a fundamental question. On one hand, you have short-term market fear, driven by the sheer speed of change. On the other, you have the hard data of a massive global technological build-out. So we have to ask, is this immediate market sentiment really an accurate measure of a foundational, long-term technological transformation? Thank you for watching. This is where we teach you AI and help you get smarter than your competition. If you like these videos, use the QR code at the beginning of this video to buy us a coffee or hire us to coach you or your employees in AI. Please subscribe to the AI for Career Success YouTube channel and be sure to like, comment, and share to help us reach a wider audience.